He's going to be talking today about optimizing client infrastructure from the outside in. I'm actually just going to let you introduce yourself.
So, what I'm here to talk to you about today doesn't feel like it has much to do with the title of that was thrown on this. I want to talk about what if. All right. Why was the cloud ever a thing? Straight up, why was it? Well, it's because on-prem infrastructure was complex and made up for it by having a ton of moving parts from different vendors that required a fleet of specialists from different technology domains, and you got to pay for all of it. So why did the cloud start to make sense? Well, because it was easy. It got rid of a bunch of complexity, right? But it wasn't only the cloud that rose up a decade ago. There was another answer: hyperconverged infrastructure. Now, what is hyperconverged infrastructure? You ask 10 different people, you get 10 different answers. I can tell you the real answer because I was the guy that started it. It's infrastructure that lets you not have to think about your infrastructure. It's infrastructure that you own, that you have, that there's no ingress or egress fees. It's infrastructure that you don't need specialists for. You don't need VCPs and CCNEs and SNIA certified storage engineers, but rather infrastructure that a barista can stand up, done at a price point that just makes sense. And when it's done right, it fits everywhere. And you guys may have heard the latest buzzword running rampant in our industry: edge computing. Well, what is edge computing? It's kind of like having a whole fleet of SMBs pulled off a centralized source, right? Well, edge computing and MSP business, just about the same damn thing, isn't it? So what if you had an infrastructure that could go from sitting in a box to actually adding value, running workloads in 23 minutes? That you could manage 1 site, 5 sites, 10 sites, 10,000 sites globally from one guy sitting in one chair with one mouse. From the hardware all the way up through the application layers. What if that could be deployed without anybody having to move a muscle? Nobody having to go on site. Because that's what we built. Now, talking about this at an Acronis show. Because at the end of the day, no matter how good the underlying infrastructure is, no matter how do I want to put this, how secure you've built it, DR matters, security matters, cyber protection matters. I had a great group of guys up here just a few minutes ago talking about all of the impacts, costs, etc., associated with cyber insurance because the world is what it's become. But I would posit where that really starts is with an infrastructure you don't have to think about that included that secure baseline from jump at a fraction of the cost of the alternatives that people have been building their MSP businesses on for years, and their SMB businesses and their distributed edge enterprise businesses, edge to fog to core to cloud. Surprise, it's really not that different across the board. The big change here is simply this: cutting back to cloud as it's implemented today. Man, we're having to build tools for our tools, for our tools, for our tools to be able to effectively make use of cloud and multi-cloud strategies and all of this complexity that we've layered in to a product that we all ran to get away from complexity. How much sense does that make? The answer is not very damn much. None of that was built to work together. That's why you're having to build tools to work with your tools, to work with those tools to get something done. Well, with the Scale Computing platform, years ago, we started from a clean sheet of paper and took a holistic approach to how everything should have been done in the first place. Don't like licensing? Good, we got rid of it. Don't like paying for this feature or that's fine. We roll it all in. There's no separate hypervisor licensing or DR licensing or component licensing for this, that, and the other thing. No. It's what cloud should have been, never quite made it to. And you get to own it. You know what's better than having your stuff running on somebody else's computer? You know, the old saw about what the cloud really is? When you own it. Because then nobody else can screw it up, take it away from you. Now, on top of that, and this is where it ties into Acronis, our partnership with Acronis is incredibly tight. They have coded their product suite for native support to the Scale Computing Hypercore platform across the board, from backing up, protecting workloads running natively on Scale Computing's platforms to using exactly the opposite way when somebody's bound and determined to stay with their legacy of VMware or legacy of Hyper-V, even in this day and age, which that calls a lot of things into question. Or even keeping workloads that exist up in the cloud. Through our partnership with Acronis, we're actually able to put nodes in place out in the field, out at the MSP sites, out at the MSP data centers, back up those ESX and Hyper-V and Zen and Rev and whatnot workloads, anything that Acronis backs up. And real-time on the fly, convert them ready to start on HC3 nodes as DR targets. Think data without, well, the Kaseya drama and cost. At the end of the day, what Scale Computing is really all about is giving you an infrastructure that lets you focus on moving your business forward, not trying to figure out all the legacy ins and outs of IT drama. Self-heals, self-load balances. With a platform so efficient, it actually runs beautifully on the resources competitive offerings, all the guys that came after us and glommed onto the term hyperconverged. It runs an entire SMB to mid-market data center and the resources those guys require to boot. That means that we can run on devices so small that they can't. Edge devices that you can fit in your pocket. I can put an entire SMB to mid-market data center literally in the pockets you have right now. That's before you even start talking about what that does to power, heat, cooling, cost savings. All the table stakes you expect to have in a full-blown HCI infrastructure. It's literally 4 inches by 4 inches square. Sounds like hyperbole, but it's not. You can test drive it anytime you like. Now, you may have noticed that this is only tertiarily tying to what you're seeing on the screen. And the reason for that is pretty simple. A lot of this is about edge computing. People in this room, your managed service providers. What I want you to come away from this understanding is that there's no difference. So that's what I'm up here to talk to you about for these just few minutes that we're in here together. When you cohesively design from the ground up an entire infrastructure, you wind up in a very interesting place, capable of doing things your competitors can't. I can do stuff even to this day VMware still can't. But more importantly, When you cohesively design an entire infrastructure from the ground up, you can give people what they hoped for originally. Infrastructure that lets you just not have to think about your infrastructure. Infrastructure that means you don't got to go buy a fleet of CCNEs, VCPs, SNIA certified storage engineers. There's not a man in this room, not one, that went into business thinking, wow, I want to employ a pile of very expensive engineers. No. I went into business specifically because I wanted to make money. What we're here to do is give you an infrastructure that lets you do that. Decade and a half of background with every reference you could possibly hope for. This isn't a fantasy. This isn't a wouldn't it be nice if. This is here now and has been. Self-heals, self-load balances, lose any component anywhere at any time. Everything just keeps going. Managed and deployed on a global basis. Literally, you can send hardware directly to a customer site. Those nodes, all somebody has to do is plug in power, plug in an Ethernet cable, and walk away. The infrastructure forms itself. Here shortly, you'll be seeing some of our zero-touch provisioning and runbook implementations that extends that concept even further and says, hey, that site, it knows what it is. The management plane knows where it is. And between the two of them, they know what should be running at that site, and they automatically push those workloads down to it. Again, without a human having to do a thing. So what scale computing is really about is making what if, what is. That's who we are.
Awesome. Thank you. So Scale does have a booth in the expo hall, so feel free to visit it. I didn't introduce myself at the beginning of this session. My name is Kristin Allen, and some of you look familiar, but my role at Acronis is Technology Ecosystem Partner Program, and that means I work with integration partners and then work with them to evangelize the operational efficiencies and the risk reduction that come with integrated tools. So you touched on that a little bit, but can you talk a minute or two about the integration between Acronis and Scale Computing?
Absolutely. Our companies, as you well know, have worked together very tightly over the course of the last 4 years now. Not only so that Acronis could be able to protect and back up workloads running natively in the HC3 platform and inherit all of the incredible suite of capabilities that Acronis brings to the table, from active protection to writing to anything, etc. But also so that, because Scale is who we are and we believe in giving back to our partners, so that Acronis would have the ability to say, when asked, do you have an on-premise hardware component? Your answer becomes yes. Yes, we can. You don't like paying for data, you don't like the Kaseya tax, we can do better. That product we launched, 6 months ago? Right thereabouts, the BRS. That's out there, active. Take a look. I think you'll be amazed at what you can get.
Okay, great. Yeah, all integrations are free to use. We have a whole portal it's at solutions.acronis.com, and you can find details on the Scale Computing integration there, along with integrations on all of our other tools.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Alan, so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody.